Hello and welcome to Who Viewed, an unofficial Doctor Who watch along podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing the Five Doctors. We got it, man. We got here.
Woo! We're
It's finally
here.
happened. 20th anniversary special.
Crazy.
But before we
After
talk
all
about
this
that,
time.
oh yeah, you go ahead, Ben. I haven't even introduced you, and you're already talking. I'm here with my co-host Ben. How you doing today, Ben?
I am doing well. How about you?
Uh, like allergies are a bitch.
I do.
That's all I have to say.
I have an ear infection right now, which sucks.
I thought I had an ear infection. I think it was just allergies. I had like that fullness feeling in my ear, but then it went away. It popped. I don't know. It could still be an ear infection. I have no idea.
Do you want to just jump right into it?
Yes, let's go right into it. The Five Doctors, Ben. Broadcast November 23rd, 1983, globally. So basically, it premiered first and airs like America on PBS on the date of the anniversary, but Britain had to wait an extra 2 days to be broadcast on BBC One,
For
November 25th,
children in
1983, for
need?
Children in Need. Yes. Also to note, fun fact is that the novelization released months earlier, so the hardcore Doctor Who fans were able to read and know all about the story before the actual story
That's a little
premiered
odd.
and broadcast on BBC One.
Why was it released beforehand?
They thought there was probably an error somewhere that they didn't know that, "Oh, shit, this hasn't actually been released
Are
yet."
you sure of that fact?
Yes, I am. It was on the documentary. I watched the
Oh,
documentary, and they talked about it in the documentary.
okay. The TARDIS wiki says it was released November 24th.
Yeah, but if you look at the Wikipedia entry, it said that it was the only Tiger novelization to be published before the story was aired, even though they gave it the publication date as 24th of November, 1983. So, what else to talk about? Written by Terrence Dicks. This is the last Terrence Dicks story. Of course, he is the GOAT, or one of the GOATs. Originally, the GOAT of Doctor Who, class of Doctor Who writers, was going to write it, Robert Holmes. Did you hear about this, Ben?
Mm.
So Robert Holmes was offered it. Usually J&T had a thing against reusing writers. He very much wanted new voices for the show. So he had a pretty hard no on getting those old writers, those classic writers from the show's history back. But he was convinced for the 20th anniversary that they needed to bring one of the big guns out. So they went to Robert Holmes, of course, being the probably greatest writer of Doctor Who at that time. He came up with this idea of the Five Doctors, of this version of the episode that was going to be the Cybermen and the Master, and then like the reveal is going to be the the first Doctor and Susan were actually androids all along, and then as well as the Master was taking Time Lords and creating them into Cybermen, which might be used later on in the show. I don't know. You will find that out maybe later, maybe not. We will see. Uh, but Robert Holmes did not wind up actually writing the story. He was just basically said, I don't know, but I would like to write for the show at some point in the future." So that's how we got Cancer and Amazani. So they went to Terrence Dicks. They already went to Terrence Dicks beforehand. They basically were like, "Hey, Robert Holmes is writing this thing, but we don't know. Would you maybe want to write for it?" And he was like, "I don't feel comfortable if you already have Robert Holmes attached to it." So once Robert Holmes dropped out, they got Terrence Dicks to come in it. And that's how we got the Five Doctors as we got it. He, of course, wrote a version of this with Tom Baker, but then, of course, Tom Baker eventually decided not to return, which is no surprise to us that talked a lot about how he didn't get quite along with John Nathan Turner, the producer, with season 18. Basically, the first person to take power away from Tom Baker. So he decided, of course, not to return, and we got the shot of bits in here, which we will talk about later. Uh, Terrence Dicks did say that at one point when Tom Baker was in it, that his doctor was gonna betray all the other doctors because his doctor felt like the most to betray all the other doctors. I find that to be very funny and very accurate.
Probably.
So yeah, so that's why we got Terrence Dicks coming in to write it. He originally was gonna have the twist be the master was the bad guy all along and behind it all. And then they were like, "Pants, we need a little bit more of an original twist there." So that's why we got the twist that we got in the Five Doctors. Also to note, before we get on away from the writing aspect, he did say that Eric Saber did do rewrites, added more Cybermen into the story, which he said that was basically he wasn't biggest fan of because he wasn't the biggest fan of the Cybermen. Of course, Eric Saber, after writing Earthshock, was a fan of the Cybermen, so it makes sense that he put more of the Cybermen into this story.
Yeah, I was not expecting this to be like
Earthshock 2.
a Cybermen story. I thought
Yeah,
they would be like a cameo, like the Dalek. It was in the story for
yeah.
like 5 minutes or less, but they're here like
And
the
also
whole
the first
time.
time we see the Cybermen and the Master together.
Yeah,
Also directed by Peter Moffat. He before this did State of Decay, The Visitation of Modern Undead. A reliable old hand, not the greatest director of Doctor Who.
competent, I would say though.
They did go to Waris Hussein, the first director of Doctor Who. He was in America at the time, so he couldn't do it. They also went to probably regarded as being one of the greatest directors of classic Doctor Who, Douglas Camfield. He also denied doing coming back for it. So that's why we got what we got. Before we get away from behind the scenes notes, I think it's also worthy to note that at one point Jamie was gonna have a bigger role in this story, but Fraser Hines couldn't do it because of scheduling issues, but was able to make it for the day. So that's why we got what we got. Um, so I think at a point it was going to be the second doctor was going to be with Jamie, the third doctor was going to be with Brigadier, and then the fourth doctor would be with Sarah, which kind of makes sense. Because it's kind of a little bit of odd pairing that the Brigadier is with the second doctor, and then the third doctor is with Sarah.
It's not correct, but it's like the majority of the time was not spent with these two people.
Yeah. Like, you could imagine a world that we got that version, and it would've made a little bit more sense because that is the most iconic companions, basically, for all 3 of those Doctors. So, yeah, the Peter Moffat directed it. John Nathan Turner, of course, was the producer. Eric Sayward, script editor. Peter Howell did the music for this episode. I don't think there's not a lot of music in the Five Doctors. The main thing is just the, like, the Death Zone theme.
I can't hear it in my mind's ear. I'll have to take
Wow.
your word for it.
uh Iconic theme is the Death Zone theme. I will not spoil what Big Finish story, but there's a Big Finish story where it returns because they go back to the Death Zone. And my God, Ben, I literally think I had an audible reaction to hearing the Death Zone's theme.
Interesting. Yeah, music is something I don't unless it's really good or really bad, it kind of fades into the background for me.
See, I think it's so memorable that but yeah, I've been talking a lot, Ben. Um I'm gonna give it over to you. What did you think of the Five Doctors?
It was pretty good. I really enjoyed seeing everyone come back, particularly my boy Patrick Troughton. Was just editing Modern Undead earlier, so my thoughts that I had then are fresh in my mind. That uh, having seen all 20 seasons, every episode, having it all kind of come together like this,
Mm,
it feels good. Like I'm picking up on references and people, and oh, I remember that, and oh, these two people are meeting for the first time. It's really cool, and it makes it feel like worthwhile. Like
yeah.
it was worth the time investment, and it's good. It's definitely holy nostalgia. exclusively nostalgia, but
Mm,
it's the fan service. I'm a fan, and I was serviced.
yes. I watched this very young. This was probably one of my first classic Doctor Who stories. I remember vividly getting the DVD, but I don't very vividly remember watching it and what time I would have watched it. But this must have been like I must have been like 8 or 9. One of the first classic Doctor Who DVDs I got. Not the first, but one of the first. And it's a good introduction story for a classic Doctor Who fan because you're like, oh, this is my taste of Patrick Troughton, and this is my taste of Jon Pertwee, and this is my taste of Peter Davison.
Little bit of everything.
So you get to know, like, okay, maybe I want to watch more Peter Davison, not Peter Davison stories, or I want to watch more Troughton stories. It gives you a little flavor for each to know where you might want to go if you haven't already gone down that route. Um, but yeah, I have a lot of nostalgia for this story, a very nostalgia heavy story, and when you add the nostalgia to it, it's just a warm blanket. It's comfort food. It's just like, all of my stresses are just gone watching the Five Doctors. This is just my happy place. It has its issues, you know? Terrence Dicks, I would say, is just not like the his writing is like he's not like this great ideasman that like a Robert Holmes is. He just knows how to pitch a good ball and knows how to get a good hit and go on a good base. I'm not a baseball person. But you know what I mean, that he's able to get on the plate, if you know what I mean. Even though he might not be doing home runs every episode. And it helps that he's also able to communicate that like he's able to write a really warm feeling Doctor Who that is just like easy on the soul. You know what I'm trying to say? Like this a story like this or Robot, it's very much like Saturday morning. There's nothing really too much going on. It's just kind of just fun just to hang out with these characters.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's straightforward, but in a not in a bad way, in a comfortable
Yeah.
way.
Like, I could imagine the Robert Holmes Five Doctors, and it might be like having moments of people getting strangled, and like there would have been like very dark shit in there just because that's who Robert Holmes is. And that's not what the Five Doctors is.
I feel like I would wanna see Robert Holmes as 5 Doctors, though, to be honest.
Yeah. It would have been different though,
Yeah.
you know? It wouldn't have that comfort feeling that I think that this story does have, and the Three Doctors has it as well. Uh, that like it's just very comfy. So let's get into it. Um, I'm gonna go beat by beat from what I can remember from my memory. So the first thing first is we get a new TARDIS, new console room.
I
What do
would
you think of
even
the new console room,
go
Ben?
you missed the
Oh,
first
sorry.
beat, the
I
cold open.
I am so sorry. How did I forget the so we get a tribute to William Hartnell. Of course, William Hartnell is no longer with us at this point in 1983. So they had to cast Richard Hurndall, which we will talk about very shortly. So to commemorate the first Doctor, they had probably his most iconic scene,
Oh, 100%. His most iconic monologue, one of his most emotional moments.
which also, when we're talking about 1983, this might be some fans' first time seeing this clip, or even like there's probably some fans that watched this back in 1964, and this was their first time seeing it in 19 years.
Mhm.
So it must have been exciting. And it's a very sweet tribute. And it's something that it's always nice to see that at the beginning of the Five Doctors. I love that monologue. What do you think of seeing Bill again?
Oh, yeah, it's great. Again, his most iconic lines there. I miss him.
So, and then we get the new TARDIS. Very similar to the Three Doctors, where in the Three Doctors we got the new console and
Yeah,
new TARDIS.
it's I mean, what are the differences? It's a little bit of a bigger room,
Yeah.
It's a
But also,
more
it's
white
similar to the
and
3 Doctors where
gray.
it's like, yes, it's a bigger room, but
It's a new
who knows
console,
what
right?
it's gonna be like the next couple of episodes, you know?
Yeah.
They
It's a
gotta give it
new
the big room for the big anniversary special.
yeah. It's a new console, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
they
the
don't
big
have,
new
like, the
thing.
big, red ball for the door handle. That's the only, recognizable bit of the TARDIS console for me is
Yeah,
because they always draw attention to it. This new
and they
one
have
is
the big thing is
slightly
also they have, like, the new screens on this new one
mhm.
that, going a little bit more modern.
Yes, they make use of that to, in a similar vein as, Legopolis, but
Mhm.
instead of,
Yeah.
it's built into the console where they have little diagrams on the screen.
Hmm.
Although didn't the old one have it
I don't
too?
think so.
Because I remember in, like, Castrovalva, they're, like, looking stuff up in the computer's memory banks, which is, like, on the
Yeah,
console. It's more of
maybe, but
a
it's more
older
front and center
screen.
stage in this new one,
Yeah.
and I think there might be
It's like a
multiple
little
of them.
computer almost in it versus
Yeah,
just, like, a little screen.
and I would say even the scanner for this one is much more, like, front and center,
Yeah.
which I don't really remember that in the Peter Davison's up into season 19 and 20, them using the scanner that often.
I mean, they definitely do.
And also, like, at least in this version, I would say it's definitely much brighter.
Oh, yes.
I don't know again if how much we will see in season 20 of how much this console will be changed when it's not has the extra money that the special provides.
I'm looking at, some pictures online now. It's a lot more, like, just, like, keyboard buttons all over the place, less dials and knobs and switches. It's a little bit more, I guess, 80s and less 60s.
Yeah, they definitely modernized it to that point. And also, I would the like you mentioned what why am I having a blank? The time voter definitely much more aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't look as cheap as the old one did. And of course, also like there's other things that like behind the scenes wise, they made it much more easier for the crew to be able to move this around and stuff where the old one was coming a little bit of a pain, supposedly. So then we get this new reveal of the console. You're supposed to go, ooh and ah. Look how much more money Doctor Who now has. Now that's been going on for 20 plus years. And then we get they're on beyond the what was teased at the end of King's Demons. What's the planet's name,
The
Ben?
Eye of Orion,
The
one of the
Eye of
most
Orion,
peaceful planets in the galaxy.
which looks just like a British like hillside.
Hey, is there
Looks
anything
basically
more peaceful than the British Highlands?
nothing. It doesn't even look that much different from the Death Zone that we're getting later on. It's probably filmed around in a similar area. Of course, like the new one, the 40th anniversary edition, which I should point out, I watched the 40th anniversary edition because I never watched that version of it. Which one did you watch, Ben?
I watched the original, broadcasts omnibus version.
But I would say that in the 40th anniversary version, one of the
That
big
adds, like,
changes is
stars and planets and stuff in the sky,
yeah, they
right?
add like stars and planets to make it more like, ooh, this is a science fiction landscape and not just the British hillsides.
Yes.
And it's a bit underwhelming, but then we get quickly the Turlo is painting or drawing or whatever he's doing. Um, and then
Sketching.
sketching, yeah. And then we get the first appearance of another doctor. We get the hands, like he's doing the hands are doing something mysterious. And then we get the first doctor. He's just walking around in like a field, a garden, I should say more.
Yeah, it's like a
Um,
walled garden.
yeah, and he's just all by himself. And then the time Raider comes and scoops him up away. Nothing really extra to say here. This because we don't really get anything. But the next one is more interesting. We get the second Doctor, and we get the Brigadier. Um,
Yes.
Good also to point out another thing, behind the scenes thing. A lot of behind the scenes is things this episode, of course, because there's so many people returning, and so many things because it's a big special deal, you
Oh,
know.
yeah.
Um, so John Levine was invited back to play Sergeant Benton. Benton was going to be the person that was going to be finally in charge of the unit, but he was insulted and did not return because you know why, Ben?
Why?
So remember that character that's taking over a unit does not recognize the doctor or doesn't even know who the doctor is. He's like, who is that guy? And Levine felt this was unfaithful to his character. He would not forget the second doctor and declined to come back.
Really?
But imagine the arc of Benton. Benton would have started as a soldier, made himself into being a sergeant, and then he would have been in charge of all of unit.
I mean, there's a little bit of I guess, a question I have about the Brigadier. This is Mustache Brigadier. Is
Mm.
this post-modern Undead Brigadier?
Yes, it
He
would have to be because he
recognizes
recognized Negan.
Tegan, but this is Mustache Unit Brigadier,
Yes.
not No Mustache Teacher Brigadier.
Ben, there's a lot of things. We're gonna talk about this story. That there's a lot of things in the story that doesn't
It
quite make
in
sense
Modern Undead, I
in
forget,
the canon.
did young Brigadier meet Tegan? No, yeah, they did.
Yes.
They did.
Yes.
So, okay, so plot hole fixed, because
Yes.
that's the only person that he, like, meets other than the doctors, of course,
Yeah.
here. So this must be an earlier post-modern, past-modern
But,
Brigadier.
it's so nice to see Patrick Troughton again. Just instantly from that first scene, you're just like, "Ah, Pat has not left." Even though he's been
Oh,
gone for the
yeah.
role now for more than 10 years since he last played it, like 15 probably since he was the Doctor. So, basically, a third of the show's runtime has already happened, and he still slips right in, and he's the Doctor.
Oh, absolutely. It is like he never left. You can clearly tell he absolutely loves it. He's having a blast the whole time. Wish we had spoilers, we get like a minute with Jamie later. I guess you already said that, but I wish we had more. I want Jamie. Jamie and Troutman would have been awesome.
But he is great with, Nicholas Courtney, the Brigadier.
Indeed.
Of course, we get there's like the line dialogue where he's like, "Oh yes, we fought the Cybermen, the Yeti," and then the Doctor's like, "And the Great Zodan." And every Doctor Who fan that watches this goes, "Wait a minute, what is that?" And we have no idea. To my knowledge, there's been no books, there's been no Big Finish, there's been nothing, or comics. There's been nothing filling in this hole, and every fan has watched the Five Doctors and went, "I wonder what the Great Zodan, how that story went down." Did it perk your ears up, Ben? Were you curious to see what the Great Zodan was when he mentioned it?
Yes.
What adventures did the second Doctor have with a late Brigadier? Are you looking up at the moment to see if there was ever anything with the Great Zodan?
Yes, I am.
There's nothing, man. I would hope not. Like, if Big Finish ever did a story, I'd be disappointed. I'd be like, "You can't do a story with the Great Zone," and that part of the whole point is that we don't know. That's kind of the joke.
The TARDIS Wiki gives one appearance of the terrible Zodin in Red for Danger, part of the anthology Bad Terms, released in 2025. Which there isn't a synopsis for that, but the cast list is Nicola Bryant is playing Perry and the Terrible Zodin. So I don't know what the context is, but Big Finish did something.
God damn you, Big Finish. Have to fill out in every hole.
They gotta do what they gotta do. They gotta put out like 5 audios a month. Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. We don't get, I mean, in a sense, Bessie is the most iconic companion from his era that he has for all 5 seasons,
Yeah,
unlike anybody else.
yeah. Well, the Brigadier.
Uh, Actually, when does it switch to the Whomobile? Is that 11?
Yeah, we still get Bessie.
Do you remember the Whomobile? Do you miss the
Yes,
Whomobile?
I miss the Hooverville every day. I cry every day. But yeah, so then nothing really much to say about that time scoop. It's just the third doctor's in the Bessie thinks he escapes, and then the time scoop comes for him anyways.
Yes.
And then of course, then next we get the fourth doctor's time scoop where it's just Shada. And it's just the bunting scene in from Shada, which is a very clever thing that John Nathan Turner did. Or Eric Saberts. Whoever was the person that thought, hey, we should just use Shada.
Yes. Perfectly timed with him dropping the pole. Because oh no, he's gone.
Yeah. And it's just stuck. There's nothing we can do. It's just that the fourth doctor's just in this loop. And then I want to give a shout out to sometimes Terrence Dicks, going back to like Terrence Dicks as a writer, like how he isn't the most inventive writer, but sometimes he does really good dialogue. And I really love that piece of dialogue that he has for the Peter Davison, where I am being diminished, whittled away piece by piece. A man is the sum of his memories. You know, a time lord even more so. That is a great line of dialogue and very doctory, and like one of those moments where you're like, Terrence Dicks just knows know how to write for the Doctor more than almost any other writer who has written for the show. You could picture that line of dialogue being said by almost every single Doctor.
Ab Absolutely. I mean, he's written about 100 books, so it makes sense.
Yeah. But like we don't get that type of dialogue every episode from the Doctor.
No.
And it's just like it's just a showcase of Terrence understood how to write for the Doctor more than almost anyone else. So he's having like a little bit of attack. Then they go off in the TARDIS, and then we finally are at the Death Zone. What did you think of the Death Zone, Ben? Did you find it scary? Did you find it convincing of a planet
What about
landscape?
Sarah?
Oh yes, I forgot Sarah. So uh, 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 one of my questions is why did they bring Sarah? Like I understand Nicholas Courtney and bring Sasha Brigadier. That's like okay, he's with the Doctor. They just two for one, you know. Sarah, it's that one of just like
Oh, like, why did
they time
in
skip
story,
Sarah.
why did they?
Yeah.
I don't
Wow,
know.
third doctor's off by himself. He needs a little bit. He needs a friend. We gotta give him a friend. Let me look. Oh, Sarah Jane. Let me pop Sarah Jane in there.
I
Of
mean,
course,
she
the
is, inventive, I guess.
one of the things here is that, of course, that we what one of the big things when we see Sarah Jane is that she's with K9. So you know what this does, Ben?
Continues the story from K9 and Company.
Yes, which makes K9 and a Company officially canon. Let's give a round of applause to K9 and Company for
Yay.
being recognized as being officially canon in the show's history.
I mean, why wouldn't it
Um,
be?
well, there's nothing to be sure to like, make a claim that's like it's officially canon until this moment, you know? So we have a little moment with K9. Uh JNT of course does not like K9 as we established before again in season 18. Uh but Terrence Dix was like, but we need to have K9 for the kids, so he wrote K9 into it. This wasn't a JNT request.
I when he I saw K9 Mark III, I was like, is he gonna get time scoop 2? Please don't get time scoop 2.
I did always find it funny as a kid that joke where it was beware of dog, and it's just annoying K9 just be like, I want to go, mistress.
Yes, in the
Um
K9 font.
I do also want to point out the he K9's like, I censor the doctor is involved in this. It's like, what do you how do you know that, K9? What censor is telling you this?
Who knows?
So now everyone is in the death zone. Thank you for making me remember about Sarah Jane. So we get I forget what happens first, but I'll just go through doctor by doctor. So then Brigadier and Troughton are in like this minefield of Cybermen, and like we have that scene where like a hand takes grabs Brigadier.
Mhm.
Did you find that scene thrilling?
Not that thrilling, to be honest.
Yeah, it's one of those moments where you're like, yeah, they need to fill some time to be like, oh, we have to make this place dangerous. Oh, what do we have? We got these Cybermen laying around. Okay, let's just add a scene with suspense for the Cybermen. And then we get the first Doctor, which the first Doctor is in like this like very classic Doctor Who corridor.
I mean, it's, very much like Daleks,
Yeah.
Skaro, where it's, like, very angular walls
hmm
and corridors.
And we get the reunion you've been waiting 19 years for, Ben. The Doctor
Finally.
finally meets with Susan, and it's not really played that much for fanfare.
No, they're
It's just
like,
like, oh, it's there.
"Oh, hey, Susan. Hi, doctor.
Ah,
Dalek.
Dalek.
Ah, let's go." And they don't really dwell on the fact that it's like, "My granddaughter.
Yes, this
I
big
came
moment
back."
that the fans have been
Yes.
waiting so long for, set up in the first clip.
It doesn't make sense to have that clip play and then have this interaction be so downplayed.
Yeah. And then the Dalek kind of kills itself pretty easily, and then they escape whatever that place was, and they go off to the death zone. Cool Dalek effect of like the inside of the Dalek. We don't get too much of that, so it's always fun to see in
Yeah,
the
see
classic show,
the wriggling mutant.
as well as I have not talked about yet. We have to mention the Master is also involved in the story, so we get Gallifrey. The High Council is like, okay, the Doctor has been kidnapped. All of his regenerations, except for one that's just kind of like fuck because he doesn't want to. He didn't want to come with us. He didn't want to sign the contract. So we need you, the Master, his greatest enemy, the most evil Time Lord of them all, to go and save the Doctor. For reward, we will give you a whole new regeneration cycle, which is insane, Ben.
And a full pardon.
Like nobody else in Gallifrey is qualified. They're like, you know what? We're gonna give the most evil person that we have ever created as a society 12 more lives.
I mean, desperate times call for desperate measures, I guess. They need someone with the master's wit and cunning to survive in the death zone.
And then he gets like the seal of Rassilon. No, it's not the seal of Rassilon. It's the
Just a
seal of
seal
the
of the
High
High
Council,
Council, yeah.
which is just kind of like these beads button thing. So, going in order, which I kind of gone out of order now, but then the next Doctor is the third Doctor. Third Doctor meets up with Sarah Jane. There's this very funny moment. It's one of those moments in classic Doctor Who that we get a couple of times where we can understand why the writer has written something, but then the director gets onto the stage slash location, tries to
Yeah.
realize the script, and it's just kind of impossible. So you could imagine a world where Terrence Dicks in his mind is writing this, and it's a Sarah Jane is in like a big cliff, and the Doctor needs to save her from this cliff. Uh, but in actuality, in the story, Sarah Jane is just like, it's a little tiny hill that Sarah Jane could easily climb up, but she's acting very much like, help me, Doctor. And the Doctor has to pull her up with Bessie. And it's just like the most smallest incline of hill.
She could have just stand and be fine. She's like,
Yeah.
and it's so dramatic, like, "Oh,
Yeah.
grab on Sarah Jane," and then she's, like, using not even lifting him himself, but, like, "We gotta tie her up to Bessie and pull." Just location did
Yeah.
not suit this event at all.
Yeah. You get it's a good idea. Tan Six, I understand why he wrote it for you to have a little bit of suspense, but it's just the location did not call for it, and they could not find a bigger enough of a dip. Um, Also want to point out this is the first time, of course, we see Bessie on the Death Zone, and I always find it funny that the Death Zone has paved roads that thankfully the Bessie could drive on. Uh, there's also a really weird line of dialogue that I also want to point out before we move on from this scene. That John is basically so Sarah and the third Doctor meet, And she's like, "Oh, but you're not you're the old one. You're not like the one I remember." And he's like, "Teeth and curls." And it's always a weird dialogue because you're like, "How do you know about the Fourth Doctor's existence?" The reason why he knows is that it was a line originally. Teeth and curls was a line that Sarah Jane Elizabeth Sladen was going to say, but John's like, "I like that line," and John Pertwee, being John Pertwee, was like, "I'm gonna say it."
I picture it.
But it really doesn't make sense because you're like, why do you know your future self? That future self, you know?
Maybe it's baked into his DNA,
Maybe.
so he has a premonition.
So then we get the first Doctor and Susan see the TARDIS. Somehow they just stumble upon it and like, oh my god, it's the TARDIS. And at that same exact moment, Susan does what Susan does. And like fucks up her ankle basically on a rock. Were you, did you were you like, ah, that's that's the Susan I know.
Not exactly, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
And of course, they go in the TARDIS and they have that moment of dialogue that any story like this needs to have, where it's like, "But who are you people? Where are you?" And it's like, I'm you." And it's fun. I think this is a good time to talk about it. What did you think of Richard Hurndall's performance this episode, and just his version of the First Doctor? Because of course, this is the first a time that we have gotten a recast of a Doctor. The second First Doctor, of course, like we've talked about, you watched every William Hartnell episode, so you know what the First Doctor is like. So, what do you think of Richard Hurndall's performance this episode? And what do you think of his take on the First Doctor? And do you think it was faithful?
I think Richard Hurndall did a good job. I think when it comes to like the writing aspect, I get they're kind of baking in some like 60s misogyny stuff that's like, yeah, I guess, you know, it happened. Like when he points to Tegan and says, "Make yourself useful, girl." Paraphrasing, but like,
Oh, Ben, just you wait for Twice Upon a Time.
uh,
Just you wait.
but I mean, I get it. A lot of female companions were the coffee girls at that time. Like Polly,
Yeah.
80% of the stuff she does is makes coffee for the boys. But it feels like it's borrowing more from early Hartnell, where he's a little bit more crotchety.
Yeah.
Um, Hartnell, his doctor, has a little bit more of an arc than many of these other doctors, where you go from willing and able to bash a caveman's head in with a rock to being a lot more kind and compassionate and
Yeah.
paragon of justice, all the doctor things, um,
But
and less
in their
grumpy.
defense, who knows where this First Doctor's coming from? Who
True,
knows in the timeline?
but the Hartnell that is really good is like late season 2, season 3 Doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, this is probably at least like Vicky. I mean, it would have to be at least Vicky era, and Vicky era Hartnell is already pretty good. It's mostly season 1 where he's like grumpy. Which this would have to be after that because Susan's already gone.
But I think as someone who's not as well versed in the First Doctor era, I've seen some of the more iconic episodes. I think Herndale does a good job this episode. He's a different take on the character, but he gets a little bit of that essence of that First Doctor. Uh, and it's similar, but it's also its own thing, which is right. You don't want just an impersonation of the William Hartnell because that wouldn't be fair for William
Yeah,
Hartnell.
yeah. It's not a perfect one to one, but it has the essence of the character, I think. I'm not like, who's that guy?
Like we get a and that's very
Oh
much
yeah, he does the
a
the
First Doctor
"Hmm."
thing. Um, I assume that that was written in the script.
I watched a YouTube video recently that was like, "Every doctor's catchphrase," and Hartnell's was, "Hmm? Hmm?"
It very much is. It's what that's what I think about when I think of William Hartnell's doctors. Hmm? 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 Um, but yeah, very best case scenario. You
Yeah.
could imagine a world where they cast somebody else and you're like, doesn't feel right. It feels right, which is probably the best thing that it could have been. So they all basically have fun at the TARDIS. They have like coffee and tea, like you said. That they're like the women have to make that. And then they go away. We get the master goes to the death zone. Um, and he meets up with the third doctor, which of course is very iconic. Makes sense why the first doctor to meet Anthony Ainley's master and the Death Zone has to be the third doctor. What do you think of that scene of Anthony Ainley with the third doctor? Was it a bittersweet to see that doctor with the master again?
Yeah, it is. I miss Delgado every day. Ainley is not Delgado.
No.
And that scene is good, I would say. I would think that Jon Pertwee or the third doctor would recognize him a little sooner. Like, honestly, they don't look that different. Like the goatee, that's come on, that's the master.
Yeah. And, like, there's some versions there's this one line of dialogue, right, from David Tennant in, spoilers for when, one of the episodes of when he's with the Master. He's like, "You know what? No matter what body he's in, I'll be able to tell. The time will just know when." They can see behind the face. And there's so many instances of Doctor Who where you just can't tell it's the Master, which is very funny, that line of dialogue. Because even in this episode, later on, of course, the Richard Hurndall, the first Doctor, meets the Master, and the Master's just like, we went to the Academy together. It's no big deal. And like there's other versions of Doctor Who where it's very much makes a big deal of like we were childhood best friends. And this one, it's like, yeah, we kind of knew each other. We were kind of acquaintances.
Yes. I do wanna say, quick sidebar about the master. I've been, I would say, as a rule, somewhat dissatisfied with Ainley's performance. Like, he's fine. It's never, of course, reaching the heights of Delgado, and he's mostly been feeling fairly, like, one-dimensional, very cartoony, very, "I'm evil for the sake of it because we need a villain this week." Um, I really like him this episode, though. He's the most, like, three-dimensional that he's been so far,
Yeah,
like an actual character,
yeah.
with emotions and complex motivations.
I think that's also a lot of that is helped by he is in this story a lot. There's other times where we've seen him in like something like The King's Demons or in Time Flight or even Casablanca. It's like he's barely in those episodes because it's like
Yeah.
it's just a reveal that he's the master, and then it's like then the doctor has to face against him. In this episode, we get actually scenes where the doctor and the master can just talk, and that's nice. And it does. I think this is the best Anthony Ainley so far, just because we have those scenes where with him and Pertwee is good, and then we get some great stuff with him and Peter this episode. Because later on when Peter meets him, that I like that scene a lot. I like the scene with Pertwee, but I really like that scene
Yes.
with Davidson when Davidson does not trust him at all, and he's kind of like, you just stole that sale of the High Council. Like, how am I supposed to really trust you? And Peter plays it very well. Um, so before that point, is there anything else to say? It's just kind of like all the doctors realize, we have to go to the tomb of Vassalon, basically. Um, and then the first doctor and Turlo is up behind the TARDIS, and Tegan, Susan, and the Peter Davison's doctor for the fifth doctor go out, and then they meet up with the Cybermen. The Cybermen are introduced. It's just like you said, it's just the Earthshock Cybermen.
Yes.
David Banks is there in all of his voice. Uh, there's a very funny moment in that first scene with the Cybermen, I thought, when the cyber leader is talking to cyber lieutenant, who's the cyber lieutenant's basically the basic the bottom bitch. Do you know what the term bottom bitch means, Ben?
Yes, Cam.
So the bottom bitch of the Cyberman basically is he tells the cyber leader tells the plan to the cyber lieutenant, and then the bottom bitch, the cyber lieutenant, goes over to the other Cyberman and goes, "All right, guys, here's the plan." I found that moment to be so funny. Because it's like the cyber leader is just right there. He could have just told them, but it's the other Cyberman has to be like, "Okay, I told the guys," and walks a feet over and says, "All right, guys, it's what we gotta do." And then we get that great scene with the the Master and Peter Davison. Cybermen come in, and there's some great explosion effects, I would say, in that moment of the Cybermen shooting, and then. The big thing is that the Peter Davison takes the teleporter device away from the Master and uses it, and it has an iconic line of dialogue. This serial where goes mustache and disappears and goes to Gallifrey, and the Cybermen. We cut back to a reaction. The Cybermen is like, "Huh, what?" And then the Susan and Tegan go back to the TARDIS. I did mess up earlier. This is the moment where Susan has
Yes.
her ankle injury and is very much does a Susan. Uh, and then we get some good stuff with the Fifth Doctor on Gallifrey. Really makes the Fifth Doctor kind of like the lead Doctor in this story. That he's not in the Death Zone. He has a little bit more
Yeah.
control. Trying trying to solve the. It's kind of like a murder mystery in a way that he has to solve the case.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely the main Doctor. I would say was always more interested in what the other Doctors were doing in the Death Zone than whatever Davison was trying to figure out. Like, let me play this harp. Cybermen, we gotta run. What is this painting? Okay. It's always eh.
Yeah. But then we get back to the Death Zone, and in the Death Zone, we get the first moment of the Master with the Cybermen, and the Master is basically like, "Hey, I'll be your boy. You know, I succumb to you. Like, what is like what? I'll be your servant." Does he say something like that?
I'm the master and your loyal servant.
Your lawyer
And
servant.
your
And then
loyal
at that
servant.
point, the Cybermen are basically like, "Hey, we gotta steal the Doctor's TARDIS, and we gotta get ourselves out of here." Um, and then Turlo and Susan are in the TARDIS, and the Cybermen are trying their best to explode the TARDIS. And also at that same time, I did mention that the First Doctor and Tegan have left the TARDIS, and they're going to the front gates of the Tomb of Asylon. And then we cut back to the Third Doctor and Sarah. Third Doctor and Sarah. This is a late addition to the script, and I don't know if you know this. Uh, so they basically were like, we need something. It's a little bit too easy of a scene for the Third Doctor and Sarah to just wander upon the gates of the Tomb of Asylon. They need something else. So they come up with the Raston Warrior robot sequence. Terrence Dix was just like, ninjas are cool. So he recreates the Raston Warrior robot, which is this like all silver robot creature that can move like at the sound of light, and it's just basically like it's kind of anime, not anime. Like what is that thing called, Ben? That's kind of like Power Rangers. What is
Oh,
it called? You know what I'm talking about, right?
tokusatsu, which is
Yeah, it's
like
similar to something.
it's Power Rangers slash Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, like Godzilla in kaiju films fall into that, where it's like spandex men doing acrobatic feats and fighting.
But you understand what I'm saying? That the Raston Warrior robot kind of fits in there in a
Oh
way.
yes, for sure. I always every time it jumped up and did a freeze frame and a little bleep, and it appeared somewhere else. I don't know. I found it funny more than menacing.
I loved it as a kid. I thought it was kind of scary as a kid. I love it to this day.
It's just
It's
so
fun.
over the top.
This sequence is famously also directed by John Nathan Turner. This is his only bit of direction. I think it's actually pretty well directed. Um, the actual attack sequence of the Cybermen gets some pretty good Cybermen gore. The Raston
Oh, yeah.
robot takes down a lot of Cybermen. There's a good bit when one of the Cybermen like it hits one of its like fluid units and it's just got buffing up liquid, which again I think is awesome. Because like it's always a great reminder to remember the people at home that like no, these are actually yes, they are cybernetic, but they also are organic as well. So having a little bit of organic stuff coming out of them is cool.
Kinda gruesome, like, one of them gets decapitated, one of them has, like, their arm ripped off, but it works.
It's John Nathan Turner having fun. And then I forget who exactly it is, but then we cut back to Gallifrey, and it's just the Castellan found that he has like the ancient scrolls of Rassilon or whatever the hell. The Black Scrolls of Rassilon. And then they kill him. He has an iconic line of dialogue where he goes,
No.
"No, anything but the mind probe." And have you ever seen that? Did you see that BFI clip that went around?
Oh, probably. Um,
Um,
but you
so if you
misquoted it.
don't know,
It's
audience
no,
members,
not the mind probe. Just
but if you don't know, audience members, at the BFI does these screenings, which I'm so envious of every single time they do it, of these classic Doctor Who episodes where they redo them. They show them in a movie theater full of Doctor Who fans during the Blu-ray releases. So this was, I think, the 40th anniversary edition that they premiered it at the BFI. So you have a group of Doctor Who fans that have probably knows every line of the story. So all of them are waiting for this line, and the whole audience goes, "No, not the mind probe!" And it's just one of those bits of only in a theater of hardcore fans you get a moment like that where everyone is in touch and is just like everyone knows that it's gonna be coming.
yes.
Um, it looks so fun, just like fun. And then we get the second Doctor and Brigadier. They go in a cave. They light a torch, and then they meet a Yeti. The Yeti is mostly in shadow.
Yeah, it's not immediately recognizable as, "Oh, it's the Yeti from, Web of Fear and stuff." If I didn't know beforehand, I wouldn't have said, "Oh, that's a Yeti."
It's kind of something that takes me a little bit out of the story, just because it's like, why is the Yeti there? Like, I get it, like the Cybermen and the Daleks are like throughout the galaxy, right? The Yeti, it's not like the Yeti are like the Yeti are just robots that
Yeah.
the great intelligence made. It's not like it's like there's not like there's abundance of them, you know?
He the the mastermind behind all this just grabbed a bunch of monsters for them to fight, I guess.
He was a Doctor Who fan. Um, Also, something I want to point out. I think this is earlier in the story, but the Doctor mentions to the High Council. It's like, oh, but like there's Daleks and Cybermen. We would never allow that to be in the death zone. And I just kept on thinking like that's a you're retconning this. Just because like we have literally have seen the Doctor meet the Daleks and the Cybermen for the first time, and now we are establishing the Daleks and the Cybermen are in Time Lord like lore. But like we know we've seen the first time that he's come across these people, but now it's like these are facts.
Is the 10th planet the first time the Doctor learns about the Cybermen, though?
It's been a long time since I've seen the 10th planet. Maybe he's like, oh, the Cybermen. I know these guys. But Daleks definitely he does not know what the Daleks are in the Daleks.
Yes.
He's not like, oh yeah, these guys. I know about the Daleks. I learned about them in the academy. But yeah, it's a retcon that kind of makes sense just because like it kind of makes sense that the Daleks and the Time Lords would just know each other by now. they would be in part of their history. It wouldn't be like this thing. The Daleks are so big nowadays in the Doctor Who lore now that it doesn't make sense that like the Time Lords wouldn't always know about the Daleks.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, the Daleks are time traveling beings. I mean,
Yeah.
anything can happen at that point. They can go back. Where Gallifrey sits in this was always unclear to me. Is Gallifrey exists? Does it exist outside of time? Can I go to a early Gallifrey?
Who knows, Ben?
I'm sure
Who
you
the hell
know,
knows?
but like,
No, I don't know. Like it doesn't make sense to me. But also, it's the same thing with the Time War. Like you don't know too much about the Time War. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, right? But it's like there's that concept of like the Time War is like it ends at a point. There's an ending, but the ending is not like it's like when it's revealed later on. It's like the time War's still ongoing, even though it was ended. It's just like where does that happen in time? And it's time locked, but like am I, again, it's a show about time travel can be a little bit confusing at times. Because as well as, of course, in this episode, we do have Patrick Troughton there, and Patrick Troughton does confirm one, he knows Omega. He talks to that about Omega with Brigadier, and then he meets the visions of Zoe and Jamie, and he
yes,
knows that their memories have been wiped. It's
I
just like
I wanted to mention
where is
that
this?
this is for a lot of this, it's a lot of these doctors. It's not abundantly clear when they're being taken from, but like this we've had possible hints before, like in Three Doctors, but
Yeah,
this is like confirmed 6B. Like this
yeah,
is after Jamie Zoe get their mind wiped, but before he regenerates.
yeah. And then I would you would imagine Pertwee would have to be like it's late season 11 because he knows who Sarah Jane is. So
Yeah.
like,
I saw there's a website I check periodically where it's like a fan site where they list every single everything, s- TV, comic, Big Finish, book, etc. in an order. And they put Third Doctor, Five Doctors in between, right before Planet of the Spiders. Is it Monster of Peladon right before that?
yes.
Right between those two, which I think it is a logical thing.
So talking about, I just want to mention about there's this list. I was looking at the TARDIS wiki. I just want to point out this list of people that were almost in the story but couldn't be. All right, so I'm gonna list off the list. Okay, Ben.
Yes.
William Russell was invited but declined. Ben and Polly were considered, but Anique Wills was living overseas. Victoria was maybe going to be in it. I already talked about Benton. Joe was supposed to appear, but Katie Manning was living in Australia. Harry was supposed to appear, but he was looking in New Zealand. Louise Jameson wanted to appear, but the production turned her down, which is like, why? Romana was supposed to appear, but Lala Ward turned it down. It would have been fun if maybe Romana was on the High Council by this point. It
Yeah.
would have been a fun cameo that would have made sense. But I just want to point that out.
Did Mary Tam or just
Yeah, so it was she just Mary Tam wasn't asked to reprise her role. So wouldn't make sense really. I don't know how you would have fit her in. It would have made more sense, like I said, if Romana, you could have imagined what they could have fit her in because she is Lala Ward would still be around theoretically.
no Katarina? I can't believe it. Unwatchable.
Are you sad that we didn't get any Joe or Ian or
I
Ben
mean,
and Polly?
it's a little weird. We have Liz and Sarah, but not Joe. Like,
Yeah, because Joe and Captain Mike would have been awesome. But yeah, so to go back to the story, we were at
we did Yeti.
the Raston Royal robot, the Yeti, and then we have the checkerboard uh of the they have to cross the checkerboard basically, right?
Yes.
Also, before we get to the scene, I also want to also point out this whole entire time, Susan and Turlo have been stuck in the TARDIS, and
Oh,
that's what their roles in this story is.
yeah.
Last episode, if you listen to the King Stevens episode, I forget what Turlo does that whole episode. Ben, do
No.
not remind me. And this made me remember, oh yes, this is why I don't remember Turlo in this episode, because he really doesn't do anything this
Yep.
episode.
He has, Nissa's fate of being in TARDIS jail the entire episode. He never gets to he might, in the final confrontation, get to leave, but before that, he's just in the TARDIS the whole time.
Yes. So then they go to the checkerboard, and the master shows up. Does that line where he's like, "We went to the academy together," and the doctor's like, "Sure, I don't really remember you. We must have just been acquaintances." And then the Cybermen come. The Cybermen go through the checkerboard, all explode, and then the master has a comment where he's like, "Pie," and then the master then or he says, "It's as easy as pie," right? And then the doctor goes, "As easy as pie, as easy as pie." And then he's like, he does the math lesson to Tegan, and then he's like, "Well, if we do 3.14," and then he does like the walk and just walks a straight line. And then it's just like, that child just use pi, and then Tegan does pi. And it's one of those moments where you're going, okay, Terrence is a father. He wants to incorporate some math in there. It's probably his kids were learning pi that week. But one, it's one of those things. Also, it's like maybe the script he was thinking it was going to be round or something, but it's a rectangle, it's a square checkerboard. So how do you have pi in a square?
I mean, there's definitely a way to do it where, like, the numbers, they correspond to tiles on the board, but clearly there's some kind of miscommunication because they just I mean, Anley does a little, like, "I'll step on this tile and this tile," but everyone else just walks straight and, steps
Yeah.
on lines and everything. I don't know if it's a director problem or what. Um,
Peter Moffat, like I said, I watched the behind the scenes documentary. Peter Moffat was also pretty clear that he wasn't much more of a science fiction guy or writer. He was an actor's director. So like he did not care about these science fiction
eh.
concepts. As you said, Anthony Anley definitely understood the assignment. While Richard Hurndall and Tegan were just like, okay, fine. So then we get that moment. So the pie moment happens. They cross the board. Then the first thing is the third doctor and Sarah Jane go. Well, no, it's not the third doctor, Sarah Jane, because the Sarah gets the unfortunate doctor companion syndrome where she's like, "I can't go. You got to go without me, doctor." And the doctor goes by himself. Honestly, that could have been a Jon Pertwee note. I feel like, I know, Sarah, you gotta stay behind. This is my scene. I need to be the center of attention here. So he goes to the hall, goes in the hallway and meets Captain Mike Yates, and then all of a sudden Liz Shaw also appears. Did you know they were going to be in this? Were you shocked to see those two come back?
I did not know. Yeah, I'm happy to see him. Of course, it's just a phantom. It's not really there. Liz is still earthbound forever and ever.
But there is a great behind the scenes story where Liz Shaw read her dialogue, and just Pertwee was like, "You gonna say it like that?" And Peter Moffat was like, "Yeah, she can say it. That was fine." But Pertwee being Pertwee, just always taking control of the show is like, "Are you gonna do it that way? Are you sure?"
The perfectionist.
But I do like the way that it's kind of like the sound is kind of messed up with in post. It's like, "Stop him!" But and then we get a very similar scene with the second Doctor and Brigadier. They meet Zoe and Jamie. Jamie still in that kilt all these
Oh,
years
of
later.
course.
Um, and Zoe is very much in shadow. They don't want to show that she has aged 15 years since the war games. So of course they're trying, like, they don't want them to go past. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna die or something if you go past. You can't go past." And then they actually and then, of course, like you said earlier, Tron's like, "Ah, but you don't know you don't remember me. They took your memories, so they move away." Um,
So sad.
Similar to the other scene where it's just fun to see the 2 of them again,
I
especially
want
Jamie.
Jamie.
You're not gonna get him in a couple weeks from now,
Next
Ben.
season, yeah.
Um, and then,
Or no,
we get
2
that hop scene
seasons.
where the 5th Doctor plays the hop, and then it's like, "Ooh, a secret passageway." And then, all the doctors meet up. One of the drawbacks of this story is that the 3 doctors, what makes that story so special is the back and forth and dynamics between the 2nd and 3rd Doctor.
Yeah.
Not to go too much future spoilers for you, Ben, but Day of the Doctor is very similar to Day of the Doctor. What makes it so great is the back and forth between all the doctors. This story, designed this way because Terrence Dicks and I think John Nathan Turner and Alex Sherwood were all on board with saying, like, we have to separate them because their egos are going to be all so big that we don't want them all to be in the same room together.
Yeah.
Um,
I wish we got more instead of having 4 parallel stories that converge at the end.
yeah, you could imagine a world where just the first Doctor and the fifth Doctor were together, and then the second and third Doctor were together the
I
whole
mean, even
story.
that, yeah, would be better, And, at the end of the scene or that end bit where they're all together is good. I liked,
Oh no, it's so good.
even
It does
2 and
fall
3
somewhat
still
into the
having
trap.
that, chemistry.
Oh yeah, definitely chemistry that they also were able to keep that Kindle on fire for all the conventions they did together. Um, so like that dynamic has not aged a day since the Three Doctors. It seems like they just came off of the Three Doctors set. Um, but that scene does fall into victim of the first Doctor is the wisest out of them all, even though he's the youngest. But just because he's the oldest, he has to be the wisest.
Yeah. I mean, even in 3 Doctors, it was the same thing. They're like, "I don't know what to do."
Yeah,
And Hartnell has to be like, "Well, did you try XYZ?" "Oh, I didn't think of that." "Oh, okay.
yeah.
Thanks, Hartnell."
But also it's the scene is very fun that we get to see Tegan and Sarah together, but most importantly, the Brigadier meets both Sarah and Tegan again, and they both say the Brigadier at the same time, which I always find quite fun. Um, and also we get the reunion of the Third Doctor and Brigadier as well, which it would have been a shame if we went the whole story and Pertwee and Courtney didn't reunite because, of course, they had such a great dynamic together. Um, but yeah, they read Old Time Gallifreyan and they're like, but like the to lose is to win, and who wins shall lose.
I wanna point out the old-time Gallifreyan is just a bunch of random mathematical symbols.
Again, his sons must be in algebra at this time or geometry. um, so then the fifth Doctor comes. The fifth Doctor, no, sorry, I said the fifth Doctor. I meant the Master comes. He's like, I'm gonna be evil, and then the Brigadier does a good karate chop and stops the Master's plan. At the same time, basically the story's wrapping up. So the TARDIS goes to the tomb of Rassilon. At the same time, the Doctor finds all. We didn't mention earlier that basically whoever is the bad guy of the story has decided. You know what? I'm going to make little action figures of all the characters that I'm going to put into the time and into the death zone.
I mean, this revelation cam that has happened before this point.
It has. All right. So Parissa is the villain.
Yeah, so the Doctor meets he unlocks the uses the harp to unlock the door to Barusa's lair, which this is a little bit of a twist of Barusa,
Yes.
who in basically all of the Gallifreyan stories so far has been the Doctor's most common ally, is now turned evil, seemingly.
Yes, yes, yes. But Ben, we have to get back to the important thing. What did you think of the little toys he made?
Uh, they're little toys. I would buy
Do you
them.
think he did a good job painting them and making them? Do you think they look accurate? Like, how much time do you think he put into making these little toys?
I mean, the only one that looks weird is Turlo's because Turlo's is doing like a T pose.
Yeah. Well, also the first Doctor is also like in a weird pose as well. He's like,
Yeah.
ah. Yeah. And the fifth Doctor has like his hands raised for some reason.
And then Barusa, who has the is it the circlet of Rassilon or the crown of Rassilon?
He has his evil wardrobe on. That's what it is. I think whoever the actor is for Barissa this time around does do a good job. He, you don't the first time watching it, you don't know he's particularly is the bad guy. He doesn't play it like crackly evil the whole entire time, but then when he is evil, and he plays evil really well.
I do want to comment about Barusa. Is it just me?
Yes.
I kept looking at him and hearing the voice of Norm Macdonald. Did you hear that
I
at
didn't
all?
get that.
It has a slightly if you listen to it, maybe you'll see what I'm talking about. It has a similar kind of pitch and nasaliness. Might totally just be me, but he reminded
No,
me of Norm
I just
Macdonald.
listened to it again, Ben. That's just you.
Okay. So he uses the coronet of Rassilon to take over the Doctor's mind and go down to the Death Zone.
But then we get that great shot of all the doctors lined up, and the fifth Doctor is looking at them all, and then they break they all use their like concentration to break the spell. But then they let Barusa take the ring of Rassilon, and he has immortality, but actually immortality is just being a little statue. Which I always find funny that it's the last statue on his little tomb. So I'm just thinking, what happens to the next guy? Is it just like, are we gonna reveal that on the other side there's all these empty spaces of heads that can be put on?
Possibly.
But yeah, this is also note to point out. This is the first time in Doc 2 that we get to see actually Rassilon. He's been talked about all this time. But we actually get to put a face to the
Yeah.
Rassilon. This is also the first time that it's hinted at that Rassilon wasn't necessarily the goody two shoes. There's a little bit of bad in Rassilon, and he wasn't all particularly great.
Yeah, it's interesting to see him and not just have all his stuff, the key, the rod, the staff, you know, the seal, all that.
But what did you think of that moment when he becomes the statue head?
Very good.
Yeah, it's one of those moments where with the show's limited budget, I do really like that effect, and I like
With the
the
eyes darting
eyes always
around.
moving, and like it does. As a kid, it was scary. Um,
I
so
bet it would
then,
be.
uh, the basically the story ends. Raston's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna send you guys all back home. You're all good." So they all go back to the TARDIS, say goodbye, um, and all the TARDISes leave. In the original version, and I think even the special edition, it's all the Fifth Doctor's TARDIS. In the 40th anniversary, they did change it so that it's accurate TARDISes for each Doctor. Um, and again, it's just a shame that we didn't get too much of the Doctors interacting together. I would have loved
That's the
more
biggest
of that this
disappointment, I would
story.
say.
And then the Chancellor Thavia comes over and she's like, "You know what, Doctor? We just well, us and the High Council. We talked. You know what? We're thinking you're going to be the president." And he's like, "Oh yes, my duty till I return. You shall be the leader. I'm going to take my task to go to Gallifrey. Peace out, everyone."
And he's on the run again.
Yes, he's on the run again, and there's that great line of dialogue. Another one of those ones where Terrence Dix just knows how to do it. Where basically all his companions are basically like, "Oh, where are you off to? Well, you're going to be dropping us off home. You know, time to be the president of Gallifrey." And then the first doctor's like, "What do you mean Gallifrey?" And then they're like, "So you're not going to be going back?" And he's like, and then Tegan has that line of dialogue where it's like, what do you mean? Are you gonna go on the run of your own people in a rackety old TARDIS?" And then the Fifth Doctor's like, "Why not? That's how it's all started after all." And then we get the old W. What's her name again?
Delia Derbyshire?
W. Derbyshire, probably butchering that name.
Yes, you
Her
are.
original theme of the Doctor Who, and it's very nice and a sweet ending. Um, You can't end it better. What a way to celebrate 20 years of Doctor Who, Ben.
Absolutely.
Anything more to say that we haven't covered, going beat by the 5 Doctors? Do you think we had covered it all?
I mean, maybe more. We talked about Hurndall. We talked about Troughton. What did you think about Jon Pertwee here and his performance? Is he capturing the same essence?
Yes. But that it's Pertwee as a doctor is just playing Jon Pertwee. Jon Pertwee is just that natural performer, and he's very much just similar to Troughton. He just is that role again, still just because he is who he is himself.
Yeah.
And he's just that natural, like, I am going to be the action hero lead. He's good. I don't think he's like the standout. I think Troughton is more of the classic Who doctors. Troughton is the one where you're like, oh my god, Troughton is still he's the goat for a reason. He's still got it so much. And there's a reason why in next season they're like, we got to bring him back. You know?
Yeah, agreed. I think Troughton's great. Pertwee is the easiest to kinda say, "Yeah, he's good." Most unremarkable, maybe?
Yeah, I would have. You know what's something I would have liked for Pertwee? I love the Raston Warrior robot scene that we talked about before, right?
Yeah.
But I think what was needed in that scene was Jon Pertwee being Jon Pertwee and doing his action hero
We
antics,
don't get
a chase
a
sequence,
Venusian
a
karate. I was
like
waiting
if
for
that
the
sequence was
yeah.
instead. But like you know what I'm saying? A way to prove this story would be give us instead of that scene, which I love that scene to death. But maybe instead of that scene, give us maybe change that scene from the pie scene. Give us that scene with the first Doctor and Tegan, and give the third Doctor a fight sequence where he's able to
I
give a chop to
mean,
somebody.
he is 10 years older. In season 11, we were already getting, like, stand-in actors to do the action scenes.
Yes.
Uh, if that's the reason why, I understand, but him being the action hero is so emblematic of that era. It feels missing
Yeah.
without it.
But I will say it's a miracle that the story is as good as it is. There's so much fan fiction stuff that's especially coming out nowadays that does not work nearly as well as the Five Doctors. There's so many things that the John Nathan Turner put on 10 sticks. He's like, okay, you need to have a story. I'm going to do the list, right? You need to have all of the doctors. You have to have the master. You need to have the brigadier. You need to have Sarah Jane. You need to have, well, he puts K9 in it. You have to have the Daleks. You have to have the Cybermen. You have to have the Yeti. You have to have the Barusa and Rassilon.
Rassilon.
There's so much stuff that is in this story that I'm probably forgetting something that's in this story that's like, oh yeah, all Mike Gates and Liz Shar and there's just in Jamie and Zoe. There's so much stuff from this story that's fan service, but it somehow is still a fun story, and there is a story here to be had. That's not just feels like we want to make the fans happy, which of course that's what this whole story is at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Were you satisfied by this?
Yeah, I was very satisfied. Like I said, I'm a
Would
fan and
you
I was
say
serviced.
so? Of course, we're going to talk about more on rankings and ratings, but comparing this to the Three Doctors, which one did you think you prefer, and which one do you think you'll rewatch sooner?
I mean, the more doctors, the better, I guess. It really is missing. I think the thing that makes the three doctors so good is having Troutman and Pertwee in the same room and having creating a new dynamic between the same person. So interesting. Um, and this is Five Doctors is much more of a collage.
I would also say the one of the biggest differences I would say is that I think the Five Doctors is a tighter story, just because there's so much going on. There's not really a lull point. There isn't anything to really to make you go, ah, but this like when we get to how we should fix this, there's not so many problems with the Five Doctors.
I wish all the pieces connected together more though.
Yeah. But like with the Three Doctors, there was some lull points. There was some stuff where you're like, okay, this story could get a little bit going more. Where the
Yeah.
Five Doctors is just it's just it's the pacing of the Five Doctors. It's so like quick. It's like it's one of those stories where you put it on and it's like it's already over. I prefer the Five Doctors. One do you prefer, Ben?
Probably the Five Doctors, but I they both have their strengths and weaknesses.
So yeah, so best and worst special effect. Worst special effect, there really isn't a bad special effect this episode. Maybe the special effect we could say is the cliff that Sarah Jane is on. If you call that a
Yeah,
special effect. Well, I guess yeah, some of the bad special effects
the
have been
Eye of
changed, is why maybe I
Orion.
said that. Ira Ryan, yeah, the time scoop, there's a reason why they changed it with every release. I have the most fondness of the one that I grew up with, which is the special edition version where it's like a silver.
It's like a spiral, right?
Yeah. Where in this version, it's just like the original version is just like a black, like shape that comes down
And
and
they're all
like,
like
yeah.
frozen in a picture.
So maybe that would be the worst special effect, but it's not that bad.
Yeah. It's cheesy, but I think it works here, even the original. It didn't take me out of I mean, it's slightly humorous maybe, but it works.
And then the best special effect, I would say, is all those special effects of the Cybermen getting destroyed by the Raston Royal Robot. That's my favorite special effect of the story.
I think there's a lot of good ones even. Like the Raston warrior robot is good. I think the model of the tomb of Rassilon is really good. Rassilon's floating
Yeah.
head.
Even that sequence where Sarah Jane and the Third Doctor like use a rope to go to like the top of the
Yeah.
tower, like that construction is very good. Like you buy that set, um, especially for how little that set's used. They did that has a lot of detail. Um, You could definitely tell this story that they had a little bit more budget. This is the first time in the show's history they used foreign financing. I believe the Australian broadcasting company gave them some money, um, which is why it has a little bit more budget. Also helps that the story is one of the few stories, or maybe if the only story, I forget what I read, that has all the original material still. Of course, a lot of it is also on location, so a lot of that 16 looks gorgeous on the Blu-ray if you got the
Yeah.
Blu-ray.
It cleans up really nicely. I was looking at
Especially since it's before they went too AI heavy, so, like, it does still look good.
yeah, I was looking at the version on YouTube and it looks really bad. Uh
Yeah, it's like the VHS version of it.
yeah, which I guess makes sense. Gotta buy the Blu-ray. But yeah, it's a good looking, even in its most primitive form, I would say.
Yeah. Even though I would say Peter Moffat isn't the best director visually, he's not doing the exciting camera movements or exciting camera shots. It's not like a world where, like, Douglas Camfield would have directed this, and you would have been like, "Wow." It's not like David Maloney is directing the story, and it's like David Maloney would have been so good this story because he would have gave the Death Zone so much atmosphere. Like it would have been like the sequences in Genesis of the Daleks or in Dead the Assassin, where like it's really he makes a quarry feel really like an alien planet. Like he could have done a really good job with the Death Zone instead of just
Yeah,
having it be like it looks very much like a Welsh countryside.
yeah.
Um, but it does look gorgeous. Like I would love to vacation there. I believed it as a kid. It didn't look that bad to me as a kid, but definitely as an adult, I'm like, I see some points, the cheapness of it. But yeah, so how to make this story better? Is there anything else we should say? We just said more more Doctor on Doctor. Is that basically it? What other critiques do we have of this story then?
It's very I mean, I don't know how much of a flaw this is. It is very Cybermen heavy.
Yeah.
You know, the 3 big ones are the Dalek, the Yeti, and the Cybermen, but it's like 90% Cybermen and then like 5 minutes of Dalek and 5 minutes of Yeti. It would have been interesting to have more of those or I don't know, other iconic monsters, you know. I'm sure they have costumes around. Throw a Silurian in there or a Draconian
I
or
was thinking the
something.
Ice Warriors. Like imagine the
Ice
Ice
Warriors,
Warriors
yeah.
during that first bit with Troughton and Brigadier. If they met like these Ice Warriors that was trying to get at them and then they had to run
That
away
would have
from
been
them. That
so
would have
much
been
cooler
interesting.
than the Yeti. That's a much more iconic, even second Doctor monster.
But that's also part of the problem with Doctor is that there's so many villains and monsters, but there's only like a few that's on that top shelf, and it's the Cybermen and the Daleks. So of course those are the ones that they gotta use.
One thing I did want, you know, 2 and 3 get their moment to be, have these shadows of former companions. But 1 never gets that. They encounter no obstacles other than the grid.
Yeah, but I
I would have
imagine when
I
they said
mean, for
Ben and
logistical
Polly were
reasons,
considered,
yeah.
you could have imagined maybe Ben and Polly were gonna be that.
You need, like,
Which again wouldn't may really
Barbara.
makes much sense of the timeline, but like,
They coulda got Maureen O'Brien or, uh, Jackie Lane would have still been alive. There's so many first Doctor companions to choose from, and we just have Susan.
okay, Ben. So yeah, rankings and ratings, Ben. Let's get to it. Basically, how to prove this story. More, give us more Doctor on Doctor, and give us
Yeah,
what the story needs more of, which is more monsters and villains.
more Doctor on Doctor action. So, Cam, how would you rank the 5 Doctors?
I gave the three Doctors an 8.5. I like this a little bit better, so I'm gonna give it an 8.8. What are you gonna give it, Ben?
Hmm, do I like this more? Damn, I rated Kinda high. Do I like this more than Kinda? Yeah. Do I like it more than Majin Undead? Yeah. Do I like it more than Earthshock? Mm, I'm gonna give it a solid 9 for an average rating of 8.9. Um, and we didn't. I realized we never talked about it last episode. Maybe we can talk about it now. Because this is kind of season 20. What did we think of season 20 as a whole?
Okay, season 20 as a whole. Yeah, it's kind of more season 19, right? Like it's not changing the formula that much. It doesn't have a story that's nearly as good as Earthshock in there, which I think is one of the disappointments of of 20. That there isn't that one story where you're like, wow, this is really great. But there's like it doesn't have that low of time flight. Even though and King's Demons aren't great stories, but at least King's Demons a short story. It has the strengths of Snake Dance, Modern Undead, and Enlightenment. That it doesn't make it a bad season. It's just a very much of an average season for a very average Doctor. What did you think of season 20, Ben?
I think it's better than season 19, but not a lot.
Yeah, but like, but do you not think that? I understand why you might say that, but also season 19 has Earthshock, and like I think we both like Visitation and Kinda.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. Snake Dance is good. Modern Undead is good. Enlightenment is good. There's
Yeah,
nothing that's reaching that high of Earthshock, but I feel like
yeah.
a lot of the rest of those are more mid. This is a
Mm,
little bit more consistent, maybe.
mm.
Looking at the, average uh, rankings, your average rating for season 20, including Five Doctors, is 7.11, and mine is 7.27. So
What's that compared to 19?
yours 19 was 7 and mine was 7.19. So about point 0.1 higher than season 7.
Okay.
So still better than all of Graham Williams, but
Mm.
not as high as 18.
That doesn't have that Christopher H. Mead in it.
Yeah.
But maybe next season. Next season we'll see.
I'm still saddened that I don't love Davison
Mm.
as much as I feel like I should with 1 season left.
Yeah.
Maybe his expanded media is really awesome.
Some people like his Big Finish work. I don't. None of the books are that highly praised. But the Caves of Antizani, he's the big one. We're gonna get to that in a couple of episodes from now, and I'm very excited to go back to that, Ben. And I'm excited to hear what you think. But you know what? Also, I'm excited to hear about.
Warriors of the Deep.
No, the Doctor Who magazine poll. What does it look like in the magazine poll, Ben?
It's, as you, dear listeners, surely know by now, Doctor Who magazine does a poll every decade or so since 1998. In 2023, 2014, 2009, and 1998, The Five Doctors was ranked number 3 out of 20, right beneath Urshock and right above Kinda.
And in 2014, the last time we did a full poll, it ranked number 25. Above it was Earthshock, surprisingly, and below it was Curse of Fenric. So definitely in that upper echelon of great Doctor Who.
I would agree.
This is definitely, if you're a new Doctor Who watcher and you want to get into classic Who, this is a great start. So yeah, in the upper echelon, definitely one of those stories where if you're a new Who watcher, watch Five Doctors.
Yeah. Like you said earlier, you get a good little taste of these 5 classic Doctors where then
Four
you
classic
can.
Doctors. You don't get too much of a taste of Tom. But that's something we haven't talked about before we leave for this episode, Ben. Do you think it would have been improved with Tom Baker, or do you think Tom Baker would have been too much of a presence
I kind of forgot about
for a multi-doctor
him.
story? I think that's what they wanted you to do.
I think. I mean, if they added Tom in but kept, have 5 parallel stories instead of 4, I think it would have been fine. I would always be very interested in what he's doing when they're all in a room. I don't know how he would act, but if he would try and I don't see him playing second fiddle to Davison in the end scene there.
No.
But I think it could be a net positive.
Yeah. I think honestly it's for the best. I think Tom would have been too much of a presence. Tom Baker, if Tom Baker is Doctor Who, it's just like y- you're just watching Tom Baker as Doctor Who. Oh, there's also a way where that Tom plays it and Tom is so out of it. He's just doing it for the money or slash the fame.
Yeah,
And you're just like, this isn't what I wanted. So I think honestly, I'm happy with what we got.
yeah. A season 18 level Tom would have definitely been a possibility.
Or even more worse than that.
Question: if he was here, what would you want him to wear? Where would you want him to be pulled from? Shada era still, or would you want him
Probably
in the
Shadow.
scarlet coat?
But I could imagine they put him in that Scarlet Coat because that probably be what fits him the best at that time. You know, I don't know how much weight. I don't know how much weight he has at this time. Did he gain some weight since the past 3 years or 2.5 years? I don't know. Um, but yeah, definitely would have been probably the look I wanted from him. Um, I like Pertwee's look. It's very much a Jon Pertwee look, and then Pat's basically wearing the same costume.
Yeah. Although I don't really love that like fur coat that he wears the whole time. I'd much rather him in his little suit.
Yeah, but he wears that in Abominable Snowman, so that is canon.
Oh, I guess I forgot about that. Hurndall. I don't like his gloves. His gloves are weird.
So I think we're gonna say his gray trousers. He wears gray trousers, not like checkered board trousers like that.
No, like
Does.
he has like fingerless gloves on, which Hartnell does wear, I think very specifically in like Unearthly Child, he has the fingerless gloves, but 90% of the time he does not wear them. It's like having your Hartnell be with his hat. Like, sure, he wore a hat a couple times, but that's not his look.
That's not his look. Yeah.
Next week, Cam, Warriors of the Deep.
Yes.
Better
But
story than
also,
Five Doctors? We'll see.
we'll see. And then at the same time, join us in a couple of years from now when we watch the Five-ish Doctors reboot,
Yes.
the true sequel to the Five Doctors.
Are you looking? Have you seen the Two Doctors before? Speaking of multi-doctor stories.
Okay. It was one of those ones where I watched it right when, like, BritBox came out. I watched, like, 1 or 2 parts of it, and I didn't finish it halfway through. I was like, "This is not good. This is bad. This is really bad."
But it's Troughton. How could Troughton be bad?
Like, one of those times when you, like, the Class Doctor just gives me a headache, so I'm very much curious to see how I feel about it now. Maybe I just wasn't in the right mood, but I was definitely it was definitely headache inducing when I put it on for the first time.
I hope I like Colin Baker. I know there are people.
And we cut there, ladies and gentlemen. Join us next week again for Warriors of Deep. Peace out, everyone.
Have a good rest of your day.